Hello guys, and welcome to this new episode of the Unexplainable podcast. There is a place in the world where time seems to have stopped, a place where every stone tells a story, a place that is not only a symbol of faith, but also of power, silence and mystery. They are obviously talking about the Vatican, a tiny state nestled in the heart of Rome that has been exerting immense influence on millions of people for centuries. The thing hides behind those high, impenetrable walls. What dark secrets are hidden in its basements? In the archives closed to the world, in the corridors where silent figures move. So here are the darkest secrets of the Vatican revealed. And mystery. I'm obviously talking about the Vatican, the library, secret. Inside the Vatican, a place has fueled legends, suspicions, and fears for centuries. A place that few can see with their own eyes, but that seems to hold truths capable of rewriting the history of humanity. We're talking about the Vatican Apostolic Library, known to many as the Vatican Secret Library. Officially founded in 1475 by Pope Sisto, it is one of the oldest and most mysterious repositories of knowledge in the world. But be careful, let's not be fooled by the name. The word secret, the Latin secretum, didn't necessarily mean hidden or forbidden. Rather, it indicated that it was a place reserved exclusively for the Pope and his closest collaborators. Yet the aura of mystery that surrounds it is decidedly thick, because even today only a very few selected scholars can access certain documents, and only with prior written authorization. Why have thousands of volumes contained in it never been shown to the public nor digitized? And above all, what is that library really hiding? According to some theories, more or less supported among those rooms, protected by armed surveillance and armored locks, would be hidden apocryphal gospels, never recognized by the church, texts that would describe the life of Jesus from a completely different perspective than the official one. We're talking about the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, but also about Gnostic writings that would question the entire framework of traditional Christianity. And it doesn't end here. Some argue that there are heretical documents destroyed over the centuries, collected to be silenced, papers of Templars, records of the trial of Giordano Bruno, never published letters written by Galileo Galilei during his Inquisition. Others speak of missing prophecies or dossiers on controversial historical events. Sure, simple conjecture, you might say, yet many firmly believe in it. It is also said that documents on hundreds of cases of demonic possession are kept in those rooms. But be careful, these are not just simple religious accounts. We're talking about audio recordings, unreleased footage, psychological reports, and written testimonies from priests and eyewitnesses, many of whom would have sworn they saw the impossible. Objects moving on their own, deep guttural voices coming from young children, bodies levitating, eyes changing color, and so on. And here opens a chilling question. Has the church always told everything, or has it covered up what was too dangerous to reveal? According to some internal sources, there would be at least 3 archived cases that, if made public, would deeply shake public opinion. One of these would concern an Italian convent in the 80s, where an entire religious community would have witnessed unexplainable phenomena for weeks. Crucifixes turned upside down upon waking, blood on the walls, cavernous sounds in the night. All of this concluded with an exorcism lasting over 12 hours and the deathly silence ordered by the Vatican. Anyway, the most fascinating and disturbing mystery linked to the Vatican secret library is undoubtedly that of the Chronovisor. According to a legend that dates back to the 50s, a Benedictine monk named Father Pellegrino Ernetti would have collaborated with some scientists, including Nobel laureate Enrico Fermi, to build a device capable of seeing into the past. This device, aptly named the Chronovisor, would have been kept in the Vatican after being used to directly witness events from the distant past. Among these, even the crucifixion of Christ. Ernetti claimed to have seen, thanks to the Chronovisor, speeches by Cicero, theatrical performances from ancient Rome, and pivotal moments in human history. But coincidentally, all evidence of this extraordinary invention has disappeared. Some say that the Vatican hid the device, considering it too dangerous for the balance of the modern world, while others think it never existed and is just a fabrication to divert attention from other far more real secrets. The truth, as always, is kept under lock and key. The doors of the Vatican's secret library do not open easily, and what lies within it could perhaps forever change what we believe we know about religion, history, and even the very nature of time itself. And wouldn't this reason be more than enough to hide it from public opinion? Crimes, cover-ups, and SC and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis? It's impossible to talk about the Vatican's darkest secrets without addressing one of the deepest wounds of the modern church: sexual abuse and its systematic cover-up. For decades, hundreds of cases of child abuse by the clergy have been hidden, minimized, or completely ignored. Priests transferred from one parish to another instead of being reported, bishops who swept everything under the rug in the name of the church's reputation. Internal documents that testified to the knowledge of these abuses since the 60s, hidden in secret archives, inaccessible to courts and civil authorities. Only in recent years, with the media explosion of cases in Ireland, United States, Germany, and Chile, the wall of silence has begun to crack. But the question remains, how much did the Vatican's top officials know? And above all, how much did they deliberately keep quiet? And then there's the most famous mystery of all, the disappearance of Manuela Orlandi. I talked about this case quite a while ago in quite some detail on YouTube. Manuela Orlandi, a 15-year-old Vatican citizen and daughter of a Holy See employee, vanished on June 22, 1983, near St. Peter's Square. Since then, a whirlwind of theories and misdirections, mafia, secret services, Satanism, even the kidnapping orchestrated by other prelates to ensure the father's silence on something that was not to be revealed. The Vatican for decades has entrenched itself behind a disturbing silence. Only recently has it opened, at least apparently, new investigations. But many believe that Manuela's case is a perfect symbol of the darkness that hovers around the Vatican City, a place where uncomfortable truths are buried under cassocks and rituals. And if we talk about mysteries and shadowy areas, we cannot ignore the Institute for Religious Works. The Institute for Religious Works, known as the Vatican Bank, the Institute for Religious Works was supposed to serve charitable and missionary purposes. But in reality, over the decades, it has found itself at the center of financial scandals, money laundering, collusion with the mafia, and Freemasonry. One of the most sensational cases, the Banco Ambrosiano crash in the early 80s. The bank's president, Roberto Calvi, was found hanged under a London bridge with his feet barely touching the ground. The press nicknamed him the God's Banker. He had close ties with the Institute for Religious Works and the Masonic Lodge P2, and, according to many theories, knew too much about illicit operations covered by the Vatican. Was it suicide or murder? And then there are the alleged relationships with the mafia. According to some journalistic and judicial investigations, the mafia would have used Vatican accounts to launder millions of dollars. The Institute for Religious Works operation is completely opaque, beyond the jurisdiction of secular states. All of this feeds a disturbing idea that the Holy See is not only a symbol of faith, but also an impenetrable fortress where power defends itself with silence, even at the cost of sacrificing the truth. Surely there are signs of reform. During his pontificate, Pope Francis promised transparency, removed compromised figures, and initiated internal investigations like no pope had done before. But the power system rooted for centuries, the code of silence, and the billion-dollar economic interests make every step towards the truth slow and dangerous. The Prophecies of Fatima. It was May 13, 1917. Three little shepherds, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco, were grazing their sheep in the fields of Covadairia, near Fatima, in Portugal. Suddenly a figure dressed in white appeared among the branches of a holm oak, claiming to be the Lady Madonna. From that day, for 6 consecutive months, the apparition continued to repeat itself, leaving behind a halo of mystery and 3 secrets that still today divide believers and scholars. These are the infamous 3 secrets of Fatima, revelations that were supposed to remain hidden, but that over time were partially disclosed, or at least that's what we've been told. The first secret spoke of a vision of hell, a terrifying image full of tormented souls among the flames. The second, on the other hand, seemed to predict the end of the First World War and the beginning of the Second, in addition to the divine request to consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Disturbing. Well, sure, but it's with the third secret that the mystery thickens, and with it the accusations of cover-up by the Vatican. The third secret of Fatima was kept hidden for over 80 years. Only in 2000. In 2000, under the pontificate of John Paul II, the Vatican decided to publish its content, but what was revealed left many with a strange feeling of incompleteness. The official version speaks of a symbolic vision, a bishop dressed in white who walks among the ruins of a city and is killed by soldiers. The Vatican interpreted this figure as Pope John Paul II himself, the target of the 1981 assassination attempt. End of the mystery. Well, not exactly. Expert theologians and even some prelates have raised doubts about it. Where are the direct messages from the Virgin Mary, the prophetic words, the apocalyptic tone they were expecting? According to many, what has been published is only a part, perhaps the least controversial, of the real third secret. In particular, they mention a letter written by Sister Lucia, the only one of the 3 seers who survived into adulthood, in which she supposedly referred to a great punishment that would strike the Church and humanity. Some sources even speak of a prophecy about the loss of faith within the Vatican itself, of a great apostasy that would lead the Church towards the abyss. But of all this, in the official version, there is no trace. The hypotheses multiply. There are those who claim that the third secret speaks of the fall of a pope, some of the end of the world, others still of a nuclear war or the return of the Antichrist. However, the exact words of the Madonna remain an enigma. The Vatican has repeatedly denied any omission, but the suspicion continues to linger. In 2010, Pope Benedict XVI himself, they say that the content of the third secret was not yet fully realized, adding more fuel to the fire. If the vision referred to the 1981 assassination attempt, then what is still in store for us? The prophecies of Fatima have become more than just a religious event. They represent a global enigma, a window into a possible dark future, or perhaps a past that someone in the Vatican would have wanted to bury forever. But the question remains, what was really in that third secret? And most importantly, why? Hasn't everything been said? Contact with other worlds. When we think of the Vatican, the image that comes to mind is that of a sacred place filled with prayers, incense, and ancient liturgies. But few would imagine that within the walls of the smallest ancient state in the world, the stars are also scrutinized. Yes, the Vatican owns one of the oldest and most respected astronomical observatories in the world, the Vatican Observatory. But what has turned on the spotlight of mystery in recent years is another connected instrument that carries a decidedly unsettling name, Lucifer. No, it's not a joke or even a folk legend. Located in Arizona, the Lucifer telescope is one of the most powerful ever built. The name has caused a stir, and there have been rumors linking this project to ancient esoteric symbols and occult knowledge. Officially, the Vatican does not own Lucifer 100%, but is a co-owner through its observatory and scientific collaborations. And for many, this is enough to wonder why the church should be so interested in deep space. But the story doesn't end here. In recent years, some Vatican theologians, like Jesuit Father José Gabriel Funes, former director of the Vatican Observatory, have made some rather surprising statements. In a 2008 interview, Funes stated that believing in the possibility of extraterrestrial life is not in conflict with the Catholic faith. And he added, just as there is a multitude of creatures on earth, so there could also be other intelligent beings created by God. And he's not the only one. Other representatives of the church have supported the idea that if alien life were discovered, it would not compromise the idea of divine creation. In fact, the Vatican seems to have been preparing for years for the possibility of a controlled religious disclosure, that is, the gradual public admission of extraterrestrial contact, filtered through a narrative that does not destabilize theological foundations. Such a revelation, in fact, would change everything. Our place in the universe, the traditional view of man as the center of creation, and even the very meaning of soul. The church, for centuries, a master in adapting to cultural and scientific revolutions, could already be at work to redefine spirituality in a cosmic context. And what if that's not enough? Some independent researchers suspect that the Vatican may have confidential information about possible contacts that have already occurred in the past. Unconfirmed voices talk about documents kept in secret archives, which would contain detailed accounts of strange objects seen in the skies over the centuries, accompanied by theological interpretations and warnings not to spread such news among the faithful. All of this leads to a chilling question. What if the Vatican already knew about the presence of intelligent life in the universe, but was waiting for the right time to tell us? Such a powerful revelation would change religion forever. And perhaps that's why it's being doled out in dribs and drabs with caution and strategy. And so we've come to the end of this journey through the hidden corridors and deepest silences of the Vatican. We've explored age-old mysteries, like the secret archive, a place where it said truths are kept that could rewrite the history of humanity. We've talked about the hidden dossiers, the forgotten prophecies, and the unexplained disappearances. And then the secrets related to alleged contacts with entities, not of this world, between legends and documents that someone swears they've seen, but no one can confirm. We wondered who really has access to all this, who decides what the world should know and what should remain. Buried within ancient walls behind red wax seals and vows of silence? And now, as always, the floor is yours. What do you think about the alleged secrets kept by the Vatican? Do you really believe that the mysteries to which we, mere mortals, cannot have access are enclosed in the heart of the Church? Let me know in a comment. The Unexplainable podcast is an original format written and directed by Luca Perella with sound design by Matteo D'Alessandro. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, or share it with your friends. Goodbye, and see you at the next appointment with the Unexplainable.